lost jobs, even in my great state of Indiana. It was earlier this year that a company named Carrier, just without very much notice at all, announced in the state of Indiana that they were pulling up stakes and moving 1,400 jobs to Mexico. When I asked them why it was happening, they said to me that, Mike, they said in the last 2 years, there have been more applied to their company. That avalanche of red tape is driving jobs out of America, and Donald Trump is going to bring it to a screeching halt. And lastly, Donald Trump knows that it's time that we had economic policies that put the American worker and the American economy first. This great negotiator, as president, is going to start negotiating trade deals that work for the American worker and American businesses. It's a plan for prosperity, but just yesterday, I hope you caught it as well. The two great issues in this election have to do with the security and the prosperity of our people. We live in very challenging times, at home and abroad. We face, in so many ways, new and intractable threats to this nation. And yesterday, Donald Trump laid out a vision, naming radical Islamic terrorism by name and articulating a plan to defeat and destroy radical Islamic terrorism so it no longer threatens us or our allies. You know, it really is extraordinary to think of the contrast between Donald Trump's plan to get this economy moving again and the failed policies of the last 7.5 years. I mean, not only is Hillary Clinton advocating more than $1 trillion in more taxes, more than $1 trillion in new spending, even expanding and building on Obamacare, seeing it as a down payment, but when you look overseas, the record is even more troubling. I mean, it was Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, his Secretary of State, that made that decision to squander the hard-fought gains of the American soldier in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And they took steps to precipitously and irresponsibly withdraw our forces from Iraq and created the very vacuum in which ISIS was created. It was Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton actually instigated a disastrous agreement with the radical mullahs in Iran, $150 billion to the Ayatollah in Iran, who just a few short weeks ago referred to the relationship and the deal that they boast of as, quote, deadly poison. And who among us wasn't shocked the morning we opened up the newspapers? We opened up the newspapers and learned that on the very day that Iran released 4 American hostages, this administration authorized the delivery of $400 million in cash in a ransom payment in violation of decades of U.S. policy. But let me promise you, when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, we won't be paying ransom to terrorists and terrorist states. They'll be paying the price if they threaten American citizens or our allies. And probably most significantly of all, as we think about the record of Hillary Clinton on the foreign stage, it is so important to remember this and to tell our neighbors and friends. It was Hillary Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton who left Americans in harm's way in Benghazi. And then after 4 Americans fell, she said before a Senate committee, "What difference at this point does it make?" Well, let me tell you, as the proud parents of a United States Marine, let me just say to each one of you, anybody who said that, anybody who did that, is unfit to ever serve as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. But the truth of the matter is we've got a choice to make. We've got a choice to make here in New Mexico. We've got a choice to make all over the United States. And I'm grateful to be with you today. I'm looking forward to taking your questions and hearing what's on your mind. But let me make one other point about the choice in this election and a little bit of the stakes and a little bit of what we're up against. There's one other issue in this election that I think for freedom-loving people in this country should be in the forefront of our minds. And that is, remember that while we are choosing a president for the next 4 years, the next president of the United States will likely set the course of the Supreme Court of the United States for the next 40 years. It's true. The truth of the matter is, if we elect Hillary Clinton, as President of the United States of America, you better get used to more unelected judges making unconstitutional decisions with unaccountable power. So let me just say, to all who cherish limited government, to all who cherish our Constitution and all the rights that are enshrined there, for the sake of the rule of law, for the sake of the sanctity of life, for the sake of our Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, for the sake of all of our God-given liberties, we must decide here and now in New Mexico that the next president making appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States will be President Donald Trump. The stakes are just that high. The stakes are just that high, and men and women, you know full well the results of the failed leadership of this administration. You need look no further than a lawsuit filed today here in New Mexico. It's extraordinary. We heard about it back in Indiana. I got to hand it to the Navajo Nation stepping up today to take on the EPA and hold them accountable for their failure to protect our environment and protect our water. But let me say there's the challenge that we face in this election, folks, is that Steve and I have been used to this kind of thing before for a while, but it's kind of 2-on-1. I mean, the truth of the matter is that I have to turn on the TV with a stick these days. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the media is spending all their time majoring in the minors when it comes to our nominee, don't they? I mean, last week was an incredible example. I mean, while the media was focusing on semantics, they were ignoring the substance of misdeeds that came to light with the revelation of new emails concerning the Clinton administration. Now we have documented email evidence that your own Albuquerque Journal editorial board wrote about just yesterday. Email evidence that seems to suggest that wealthy foreign donors to the Clinton Foundation were being given favors and special access to the State Department while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. And then we find out, but then while the media was spending a lot of time talking about word choices by my running mate, they also ignored the fact last week, the same week, that the FBI wanted to initiate a criminal investigation into the actions of the Clinton Foundation, but the Obama Justice Department shut it down. Men and women, we have to have the highest standards of ethics in the highest office in the land. So let's decide here and now that Hillary Clinton will never be elected President of the United States of America. We've got a message to tell, we got a story to tell, and I want to hear what's on your mind, and I'm looking forward to your questions and your thoughts. But let me encourage you as I slip to the microphone. Well, it's important to remember what the stakes are: prosperity and security and the Supreme Court, and the whole question of the highest ethics in the highest office in the land. I think what's truly remarkable is, even though it's 2-on-1, Donald Trump is still winning hearts and minds every day across this country. And that's because to know him is to know someone who has As I said at the outset, he's made a connection with the American people. And I think it comes from years of being a builder, of building those skyscrapers to the skies in some of our biggest cities. Oh, let me tell you, that'll get done. I'll tell you, I really think to get around him when the Klieg lights are off and the cameras are gone is to see someone who's got all the qualities of a great president. He's someone that's got high standards. He's got a boundless confidence in the American people. He's got a broad-shouldered approach to America's place in the world. You know, I was sitting next to him one time in a TV interview, and I summed it all up by saying, this man he is unintimidated by the world, and he is in awe of the American people. And that's Donald Trump. But to be around him, you can see the ground is level around Donald Trump. He'll stop and talk to the people that are working the grounds or laying the bricks just as readily as he stops and talks to the people that are running the businesses and employing people. It really is extraordinary. And I think that comes from his own personal story, just as it does from mine. You see, his grandfather immigrated to this country. So did mine. His dad was a self-made man who built a business with his own hands, just like my dad did. My dad was a gas station businessman in a small town. I mean, he and I were both raised with the principle that to whom much is given, much will be required. And we both thought it was our obligation as Americans to build on what we'd been given. And other than a whole bunch of zeros, we've got a very similar story between the two of us. Truth of the matter is, he built an extraordinary global career in business, and I followed a calling into public service. But it was the same motivation, and we come from, in many ways, the same heritage. And I think that's what makes him uniquely qualified to lead America out of these challenging times, because he understands the boundless potential of the American people. And he understands that if we will simply put our confidence once again in the nation and not the nation's government so much, that we will build a future unimaginable prosperity and security for our children and our grandchildren. So as I close, though, let me encourage you, though, in the days ahead, that in these challenging times, I want you to go out and talk to your neighbors and friends. You know, Steve and I both believe, we've been at politics for a while. You know, at the end of the day, every television show on in the morning, every cable TV debate that takes place, every front page story, everything that is ever said or done in the media doesn't matter a hill of beans compared to you stopping and talking to a neighbor, a friend, somebody you work with, someone maybe you worship with, and telling them, here's why we need Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. And that's what I want you to do, okay? Really and truly. I mean, go and tell that story. Hopefully you'll hear some things today that maybe we've paid more attention to what we already knew today, okay? But I really want to encourage you to go tell the story. And it's very simple. You know, if you want a president who will rebuild our military, who will name our opponents in the world by name and confront and destroy those who threaten our freedom and our security. If you want a president who will cut taxes, repeal Obamacare, roll back red tape, and unleash the boundless potential of this economy. If you want a president who will build a wall, build strong borders, and enforce the rule of law for the citizens of this nation. And if you want a president who will upend the status quo in Washington, D.C., and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, then I say to you, New Mexico, we have but one choice. Your neighbors have but one choice, and I promise you that man is ready. This team is ready. This movement is ready. Let's go do the work the next 83 days and make Donald Trump the next president of the United States of America.